Hey, everybody. So they want Balen Shah to apologize. And before you decide whether he should, let me show you 8 facts about this border that nobody is putting on the screen. Nepal has been fighting India over this border for 200 years. The entire legal case rests on 1816 Sugauli Treaty. Here's something almost no one knows. Nepal does not have the original copy of that treaty. Let me repeat that. Nepal does not have the original copy of Sugauli Treaty. It is actually sitting in the Public Record Office in Kew Gardens, London. The original 1950 Treaty of Peace and Friendship, the other foundational document, is in India. And here's the interesting part, and also infuriating part. Nepal has been arguing its rights. From the document, it does not control and does not possess. Now you can see why Balen mentioned bringing the UK into the conversation. The opposition laughed at him. They didn't know. They don't know. The original treaty that defines Nepal's border is literally in Britain. This is not a diplomatic blunder. This is a fact. In 1962, Jawaharlal Nehru wrote a personal letter to King Mahendra. He asked for temporary permission to station an Indian army at Kalapani. The reason cited was China had just attacked, and Nepal granted it as a wartime measure. There is no record of Indian forces at Kalapani before that letter. Not one document, not one map, no artifacts, not one record before 1962. That temporary emergency wartime base is now in its 63rd year. India's official position is that their presence there is historical and continuous. The historical record says it started with a letter asking for permission. Now, the bigger question is, when did temporary become permanent? Nobody in the opposition asked that question in this week. Border markers are simply missing. And here's why this situation exists. Nepal and India have 8,554 boundary pillars marking at the border. Physical markers in the ground. That is how you know whose land is whose. Right now, 1,325 of them are missing. Another 1,956 are damaged or partially destroyed. That means nearly 40% of Nepal's physical border markers are either gone or broken or non-functional. When the markers are gone, farmers on both sides do not know where exactly the line is. They continue to plant where their farmers always planted. The river moved, the pillar disappeared. They are suddenly on the wrong side of a legal line they cannot see. This is a system inherited 65 days ago. He did not create it. He disclosed it. And the interesting part is people think this is just one dispute. It is actually 71. Across 23 of Nepal's 26 border districts, there are 71 documented spots of encroachment, cross-occupation, disputes, and counterclaims. Total area, 606 square kilometers. Here's what makes this very important. Of that 71 spots, 69 are solvable at local level, like farmers talking to farmers, district officials resolving cross-holdings. That is what Balen described. Only 2 of the 71 spots are genuine border disputes. Kalapani, Lipulekh, and Susta. Those are strategic. Those are political. Those require head of government. Balen put both categories in the same sentence in parliament. That was at best the communication failure. But the substance, 69 local cross-occupation spots needing resolution, is entirely real and documented. Look, the opposition is furious that Balen said river boundary shifts caused by Nepali farmers to end up on Indian technical territory. But this same exact mechanism, or river shifting course and stranding territory on the wrong side, is how India took 14,860 hectares of Nepal's land in Susta. The Gandak rivers shifted eastward over decades. Nepali villages ended up on the Indian side. Nepal has been demanding that land back for over 60 years. When the river shift goes against Nepal, it is Indian encroachment, and Nepal demands justice. When the same river shift physics affects a few hectares of farmland going the other way, it is treason and Prime Minister must resign. You cannot apply the river boundary principle selectively, guys. It works both ways or it works neither way. The boundary working group, the joint mechanism responsible for surveying, cross-border occupation and fixing missing pillars. They held their last meeting in August 2019. Then nothing. 6 years, then pandemic, political dispute, then inertia. In July 2025, under the previous government, the seventh meeting finally happened. They agreed to finish the remaining boundary work by 2027, including preparing an inventory of all cross-holding on both sides. That work is now active. Cross-border occupation on both sides will be formally documented for the first time. In reality and in fairness, he walked into the office 65 days ago, knowing that this process was underway. He referenced it in Parliament without technical context, which was an honest mistake. But the process itself is Nepal moving forward on border accountability, not backwards. The opposition killed this committee's momentum for years. Now they want to fire the man who inherited their mess. And one final fact, probably the most important one. Nepal has never officially stated that Nepal has inroads on its territory, not even in a diplomatic note, not in a parliamentary statement, not in a public press briefing, never. If Nepal were genuinely occupying Indian land, India would have said so. They have not. Because what Balen described is not an encroachment, it is cross-border occupation by individual farmers on both sides of a river where 1,325 physical markers have gone missing over decades. India knows this. The Foreign Ministry of Nepal confirmed it the same day. And the only person who said it publicly was Balen in his first parliamentary session, 65 days into his term. And he's the one being asked to apologize. Why? Bottom line, here's what the record actually shows. Nepal's border treaty sits in London. The original document Nepal uses to claim its land, physically archived in the country that drew the border in the first place. It does not exist in Nepal. India entered Kalapani on a temporary wartime request in 1962. It was a temporary accommodation that Nepal granted, but India never left. The technical committee documenting cross-border occupation has existed since 1981. Every party in parliament today had this information. None of them disclosed it. 1,325 border markers are missing right now. Farmers on both sides are planting land they cannot prove is theirs. The same river shift mechanism being used to attack Balen is the exact same mechanism Nepal uses to claim 14,860 hectares back from India at Susta. And India has never, not even once, officially complained that Nepal occupied its territory. Balen used imprecise language in parliament. To his defense, he conflated local cross-occupation with strategic border disputes in one sentence. His foreign ministry had to clarify the same day. This is at best, communication failure, a real one. But the people demanding his resignation, the party who governed Nepal for 30 years, while 1,325 border markers went missing, while the technical committee sat idle for 6 years, and while 14,860 hectares stayed in Indian hands, man, they do not get to call this a betrayal. They have the same information. They chose silence. Balen chose disclosure. You decide which one Nepal needs more. If this video helped, you found it informative, and if it changes the way you see this story, Please share before the wrong version becomes permanent. Until next time, follow me on Facebook, Rupesh Parajuli. Thank you.